"You will surely die, Ahimelech, along with your entire family," the king shouted. And he ordered his bodyguards, "Kill these priests of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, but they didn't tell me." But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. And yet another sign that Saul himself is basically off his rocker, if his own men are not agreeing to these things. Also, the assumption that Ahimelech knew David's intentions, like, it's kind of absurd. In fact, let's flash back to the previous chapter real quick, because David outright tells Ahimelech that he was sent by the king on a private matter. What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. So, today we are looking at 1 Samuel chapter 22. So the context that's probably going to be important for all this is it focuses on David, who has been anointed to be the next king of Israel. However, there's still the current reigning king, Saul, who really does not like David. Saul doesn't want to lose his throne, but, you know, he's jealous of David because of his great achievements and the people praising David for all of that, and just, yeah, doesn't want to lose the kingdom, so he pretty much is set out to try and kill David. Which is why, at this point, David has fled Israel and is trying to find somewhere else to live, maybe. Or at least someplace that he thinks will be relatively safe from, you know, Saul and his minions. In the previous chapter, he tried going to Gath, which is a Philistine town. That didn't really work out so well because the Philistines know of David. He killed Goliath, their champion, earlier. So, understandable that they don't really like him. So to get out of that situation, he decided to act insane. And he pretty much just got dismissed then by the ruler of that area. So, anyway, that, I believe, is where we pick things up in chapter 22 here. So, let's get rolling with this. 1 Samuel, chapter 22. So David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. Soon his brothers and all his other relatives joined him there. Then others began coming, men who were in trouble or in debt, or who were just discontented, until David was the captain of about 400 men. Later David went to Mizpah in Moab, where he asked the king, "Please allow my father and mother to live here with you until I know what God is going to do for me." So David's parents stayed in Moab with the king during the entire time David was living in his stronghold. Okay, so David left Gath, where he had previously gone to try and find shelter from Saul. And now it doesn't say where this cave of Adullam is. It would obviously be somewhere outside of Israel, but the exact geography, I'm not sure. Presumably it wouldn't be too... Well, it just says later he went to Mizpah in Moab. This is where it would be great if I could pull up different maps and stuff, but, like, calling up all these different types of maps isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, surprisingly enough. But, so, I guess people realized that, well, of course his family realized that he had left Israel, because they're his family. So eventually they join him. And then people probably found out about, like, the whole family of Jesse leaving Israel. And so then other people were like, all right, well, you know what? I'm tired of how things are here. I'm going to go try and find David and his crew. Now, it says men who were in trouble or in debt or who were just discontented. So, all different kinds of people in different situations, but generally not good ones relative to their situations in Israel. They all left and joined up with David's crew. So he's got about 400 men at this point. And presumably, given the situation that he's in, these all are probably men that are willing and able to fight, or at least assist in any self-defense efforts. And then, I guess a little later, he puts his parents up in Moab. And then we get to verse 5. One day the prophet Gad told David, "Leave the stronghold and return to the land of Judah." So David went to the forest of Hereth. The news of his arrival in Judah soon reached Saul. At the time, the king was sitting beneath the tamarisk tree on the hill at Gibeah, holding his spear and surrounded by his officers. "Listen here, you men of Benjamin," Saul shouted to his officers when he heard the news. "Has that son of Jesse promised every one of you fields and vineyards? Has he promised to make you all generals and captains in his army? Is that why you have conspired against me? For not one of you told me when my own son made a solemn pact with the son of Jesse. You're not even sorry for me. Think of it, my own son encouraging him to kill me, as he is trying to do this very day." Then Doeg the Edomite, who was standing there with Saul's men, spoke up. "When I was at Nob," he said, "I saw the son of Jesse talking to the priest, Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. Ahimelech consulted the Lord for him. Then he gave him food and the sword of Goliath the Philistine." Okay, so real quick, this Doeg dude, it actually mentioned him in the previous chapter that he was there. Odd that he didn't say something sooner, but we're not actually told the time frame that all this happened in. So, it's a little unclear how quickly, how much sooner than this Doeg would have had a chance to tell Saul about all this. But Saul hears that David's back in Judah and is, of course, wanting to try and kill him again. And so he's riling up his own officers to try and, well, it sounds more like he's disappointed in them at this point. Because he says that they've conspired against him because they didn't tell him about the pact that Jonathan and David made. Anyway, I think I pretty much got all my thoughts out of the way for the section here of 1 Samuel 22 that I was talking about. But now we're moving on to verse 11. King Saul immediately sent for Ahimelech and all his family, who served as priests at Nob. When they arrived, Saul shouted at him, "Listen to me, you son of Ahitub." "What is it, my king?" Ahimelech said. "Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me?" Saul demanded. "Why did you give him food and a sword? Why have you consulted God for him? Why have you encouraged him to kill me, as he is trying to do this very day?" Okay, pause that for a bit. Saul keeps accusing David of trying to kill him, when David has done nothing of the sort as of this point. He just assumes that that's the case because he's jealous of David and, assumes that David eventually intends to usurp him And while, yes, David has been anointed as the next king, like, that doesn't necessarily have to happen through David, you know, dethroning Saul his own way and killing him. Like, there's the possibility that he could just wait for Saul to die another way. So, Saul is just absolutely paranoid here. And he's accusing everybody who has any kind of, you know, otherwise friendly, decent interaction with David. He's accusing them of conspiring against him. So, yeah, Saul's just flat out all the way in the realm of paranoia here. So, then, let's move on to verse 14 here. But sir, Ahimelech replied, is anyone among all your servants as faithful as David, your son-in-law? Why, he is the captain of your bodyguard, and a highly honored member of your household. This was certainly not the first time I had consulted God for him. May the king not accuse me and my family in this matter, for I knew nothing at all of any plot against you. You will surely die, Ahimelech, along with your entire family, the king shouted. And he ordered his bodyguards, kill these priests of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, but they didn't tell me. But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. And yet another sign that Saul himself is basically off his rocker, if his own men are not agreeing to these things. But anyway, so Ahimelech's summary here of David, though, is very accurate. Like, David has not been reported as doing anything wrong, really. Saul had made him a commander after killing Goliath and all that. But then it was because of David's continued success and people praising David more than himself that Saul became jealous of David and word that he was going to usurp the throne and basically wanted David dead. So, like, also the assumption that Ahimelech knew David's intentions, like, it's kind of absurd. In fact, let's flash back to the previous chapter real quick, because David outright tells Ahimelech that he was sent by the king on a private matter, and that Saul had told him not to tell anyone why he was there. So, like, David maybe kind of sort of lied to the priest a little bit, or sugarcoated the situation a little. I'm not sure what the best way of describing that is, but he basically just made it seem like he was there on private official business. So, like, how exactly was Ahimelech supposed to know that he was actually fleeing Saul? I mean, would it be possible? Yeah, sure, Ahimelech was a priest of God. God could have revealed something like that to him, but was that necessary for Ahimelech to know in this situation? Not exactly. Anywho. So yeah, Saul is just outright ridiculous in all of this, and that's why his own men refuse his demands and aren't killing the priests. Anyway, then verse 18. Then the king said to Doeg, "You do it." So Doeg the Edomite turned on them and killed them that day, 85 priests in all, still wearing their priestly garments. Then he went to Nob, the town of the priests, and killed the priests' families, men and women, children and babies, and all the cattle, donkeys, sheep, and goats. Only Abiathar, one of the sons of Ahimelech, escaped and fled to David. When he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord, David exclaimed, I knew it. When I saw Doeg the Edomite there that day, I knew he was sure to tell Saul. Now I have caused the death of all your father's family. Stay here with me, and don't be afraid. I will protect you with my own life, for the same person wants to kill us both. So, an example of one of the many types of situations that brought people to David's group and, you know, basically fleeing where they had lived in Israel. But, yeah, so Doeg, it mentions him being an Edomite for a reason. Like, he's an outsider. Certainly not one of the men of Judah and the surrounding area. I'm pretty sure Edom was outside of Israel just outright, but I don't want to go too far with that and seem too certain of myself in case I'm wrong. Because there were all sorts of different towns and regions around there that, like, kind of went in and out of Israelite control at some points. But, yeah, so Doeg, on his own, kills off all these priests at Saul's command. Just further emphasizing the absolute cruelty of Saul and the lengths that he would go to quell any semblance of rebellion or conspiracy against him. Also, I missed a footnote earlier. 22:7. So when Saul was here earlier talking to his generals and captains and all those people, Hebrews says commanders of thousands and of hundreds, rather than saying generals and captains. Still the same general idea, though. Saul was trying to convince them, like, hey, I've given you all these things, right? Has David given you these things? No. So why are you not working with me here to try and get rid of David? Because he's just being paranoid. There was no good reason to kill off David. And his paranoia just becomes all the more apparent in the ensuing verses. But anyway, okay, I think that wraps up my thoughts on 1 Samuel 22. Alright, so, we've got David who still, it doesn't really say that he himself has found, like, a solid place to live. Although it mentions having a stronghold, maybe there at the Cave of Adullam. So, anyway, he's doing okay. He's definitely getting by, at least, and is building up a following while he's out there. Meanwhile, Saul seems to keep slipping further and further into the madness of paranoia, even going as far as having, like, all the priests, pretty much, in the town of Nob killed, just because one of them had talked with David as he was leaving Israel. Yeah, not good stuff. But, anyway, that's all that we've got for now. I guess we'll see how this all continues to progress in the upcoming chapters. But as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. Click the bell for updates. I might not necessarily use that for every video. I'm kind of experimenting with if that works, how well that works, and all that kind of stuff. Might. I don't know. We'll see. But anywho, also, if you're watching this on any other platform besides YouTube, give me a follow or whatever you need to do for that one. Look down in the description to get info on social media pages and all other places to keep up with my activity across the interwebs. And leave comments down below there with any thoughts you have. So, that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. But whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.